It's no secret the 2 and 5 end at Flatbush Avenue, a terminus tucked at the edge of Little Haiti, where still meets silence and the tracks just stop. But what if I told you this wasn't the ending that was meant to be? The 2 and 5 weren't just designed to kiss the border of Brooklyn's cultural heartbeat. No, they were destined to surge deeper, through the veins of Nostrand Avenue, past Kings Highway, beneath Sheepshead Bay, and arrive at a place few ever imagined, Voorhees Park, or perhaps Manhattan Beach. It's a forgotten ambition, and a vision buried beneath decades of delay and political dust. But what if I were in charge? If I held the keys to MTA's mythic vault? Here's how I would rewrite the ending of the 2 and 5. First off, if we're extending the 2 and 5, express service on Nostrand isn't optional. It's essential. A corridor that deep demands velocity, and not just reach. But here's the twist. I'd build this without touching the fragile gears of the Rogers Junction. Because if you know the junction, you know the chaos. Now you may ask, why do I disagree with the Rogers swap? This is only good interlining more than a better plan. The current proposal flips the script. The 3 and 5 trains would trade places. The 2 and 3 would both terminate at Flatbush, while the 4 and 5 swap endpoints, sending the 5 to Utica Avenue and the 4 to New Lots, like it does in the midnight hours. Before I get into more issues, let's talk about the issues that Rogers Junction faces right now. The 5 still has to borrow the 2's tracks in order to enter the Nostrand Avenue corridor. That's not just a delay for the 2, but a chokehold on the 3 as well, which needs to reach Nostrand Avenue on the Eastern Parkway branch. This junction may appear smooth, but the serious problem is 5 trains delay 3 trains while having to go towards Nostrand Avenue. In coming back into Manhattan, 5 trains delay 3 trains along with having to transfer to the 4 trains tracks. So it delays both trains just to transfer to dedicated express tracks. So I can see why this is a massive problem for many IRT Brooklyn riders. Let's talk about the Manhattan-bound 3 train, a humble local threading through Brooklyn's spine. But even this train, this quiet warrior, is delayed. Why? Because it's caught in the shadow of the 2 and 5. The merge at Rogers Junction doesn't just slow down the 3, it disrupts the entire eastbound rhythm. Manhattan-bound 4 trains get tangled too, because for some reason 5 trains have priority when they're clearly the slower routes that make a slow 90-degree turn towards the Eastern Parkway corridor. Meanwhile, the 4 train is already occupying Eastern Parkway and flying into Franklin Avenue with no issues. Because of this, Manhattan-bound 4 trains end up tangled, forced to wait as the 5 squeezes through the corridor. From Franklin Avenue to Atlantic, the 4 and 5 trains crawl, not just slow glacial, so slow a local line can outrun them. It's not just ironic, it's a symptom of systems stretched beyond its limits. It's not a delay, but a dysfunction. A junction designed to merge, but instead it fractures the flow. That's one issue I definitely agree on with Rogers Junction advocates. But another issue they never talk about is the problems this would cause if Rogers Junction happened. On paper, it promises clarity, clean merges and freed up space, and a smoother ballet of still. But beneath the surface, it stirs a storm. Brownsville riders loyal to the 7th Avenue line would be forced into Lexington. It's not just a reroute, but a rupture, a betrayal of decade-long travel patterns. It's one of the quiet reasons the 4 never dares to run past Utica. The demand for 7th Avenue service is too strong, too rooted, and then comes the confusions. Riders have trusted the 4 and 5 as express tie-ins, fast, direct, and mythic. But under the swap, the 4 would be forced into the local tracks, taking over the 3's quarter, which itself gets rerouted to Flatbush. The result? You'd have 3 local lines, technically stacked on one quarter. The 2, the rerouted 3, and now the 4, all crawling through the same stretch. This would be congestion dressed as progress. Brownsville riders are already trying to get off in local stations like Grand Army Plaza or Bergen Street, meaning riders would have to transfer from the 4 to the 3 at Franklin Avenue. This adds extra time to the commute, and people would start hating this plan. The 3 runs one of the oldest fleets in the system, the R62s, battle-worn and legacy still. These aren't just trains, they're relics, and they need care. Both ends of the 3 new lots in 148th Street have yard access. This means the R62s get regular checkups, maintenance, attention. But if the 3 gets rerouted to Nostrand under the Rogers Junction swap, that access disappears suddenly. And suddenly, these aging trains lose their lifeline faster, with no nearby yard in Brooklyn. No easy checkups, and when an R62 decides to go out of service, it has the deadhead and crawl empty all the way to new lots while delaying 4 or 5 trains. This is a delay grenade waiting to explode. Meanwhile, the trains that would inherit yard priority under the swap, the R142s and 142As, have a much higher mean distance between failure. They're more new and sleeker and reliable. But that reliability comes at a cost. The R62s, already fragile, would be sidelined, less focus and more breakdowns. And a line that once ran with quiet dignity becomes a quarter of chaos. If I were in charge, I'd protect the legacy fleet and preserve yard access, and build a future that doesn't abandon the trains that carried us through the past. The 1 and 6 suffer a problem like this. The only yard access they have is in the Bronx, and there is no direct yard access or any extra track storage in Manhattan. This means that the routes that terminate at South Ferry or Brooklyn Bridge have to travel 10 extra miles for maintenance checks. Think of it like this. They spend travel time alongside with having to get maintenance checks. And over the years, that can shorten the lifespan of any rolling stock in the subway, meaning the 3 will fall to victim of the serious issues the 1 and 6 go through. But before we go too much in the deep end, I want to clarify how I would rebuild the Rogers Junction. What I'd create is one that doesn't swap lines, confuse riders, or sacrifice legacy for logistics. I reconfigure the tracks east of Franklin Avenue. Right now, the 2 rides alongside the 3 all the way to Nostrand. They share the quarter and share the delay, share the pain, but in my vision, the 2 splits earlier. It peels off from the 3 before the merge, with no more shadowing or chokeholds. But what about the 4 and 5? That's where the magic happens. The 5 train gets its own branched tracks, threaded between the 3 and 4 lines, then it dives beneath, carving a clean path into Nostrand Avenue, with no interference or invasions. Now look closely at this arrangement. It's not just efficient, but elegant. The express lines have their own junction and space, and the locals do the same, with no more tangled merges or identity swaps. This is a pure mythic flow, with each train on its own path. Feel free to pause this video so you can fully understand my map concept. If I were in charge, this is how I would rewrite the map. Not with confusion, but with clarity and respect. Anyway, once the 5 breaks free from the tangled junction, it dives beneath President Street. This is where the express system on Nostrand Avenue I talked about earlier comes into play. The 2 train remains on the upper level, serving local stops and holding the rhythm of the neighborhood. But the 5 descends, a lower level built for speed, built for express. President Street becomes a dual core station, local above and express below. 2 layers of motion perfectly choreographed. From there, the local 2 continues to Sterling Street, then Winthrop, steady, familiar, but the 5, it surges forward, skipping the local hum and remerges at Church Avenue, an express stop with purpose, a direct link to the B35 bus, After Church Avenue, the 5 shifts into high gear, skipping Beverly Road and Newkirk Avenue, slicing through Little Haiti without pause. Its next stop, Flatbush Avenue. But this isn't a terminus anymore, it's a gateway. Here, the 5 connects to the IBX, forging a new interborough alliance, and beneath the surface, something else happens. The express tracks rise. From the lower level, they ascend to meet the 2 train at grade level. At Avenue K, the transition becomes visible. The express tracks run alongside the local 2 veins of motion, side by side. And then comes Kings Highway, a mythic express station pulsing with speed and connection. The B82 select bus service awaits, ready to carry riders deeper into Brooklyn's grid. After Kings Highway, the terrain shifts. The 2 and 5 rise, elevated still above the streets. But the 5 doesn't stop. It skips 3 stations, surging forward like a mythic arrow until it lands at Voorhees Avenue. A new terminus, a new legend, a corridor reborn from chaos into clarity. If I were in charge, this is how I would end the journey. Not with a crawl, but with a crescendo. However, Voorhees Avenue isn't the end. Not in my vision, because beyond the elevated still and sleepy terminus lies a destination that's been ignored for far too long. Manhattan Beach, Kingsborough Community College. A campus that isn't just local, but legendary. Ranked number 1 among New York's 37 community college by Niche.com in 2022. It was also the 8th highest rated college in New York City. A place where over 19,000 students full-time, part-time, and online begin their academic journey every year. But to reach it, you have to loop around the ocean's edge, transfer, wait, and crawl. A commute that steals time and energy from the very students we claim to support. My solution is to extend the 5 and push it past Voorhees while building a bridge over the water. Yes, a bridge. Because education deserves infrastructure. And Manhattan Beach deserves connection. This isn't about convenience, but equity itself. I say this thousands of times. This is about giving Brooklyn's southern shore the same mythic access as the rest of the borough. And here's how I do it. The 5 train becomes the College Express, terminating at Kingsborough with a clean, uninterrupted flow. The 2 train, it runs rest only after Manhattan Beach, preserving clarity and avoiding operational entanglements. No turning conflicts or deadhead delays. This extension would save 15 minutes per trip. That's hundreds of hours per semester, thousands per year, and time that could be spent studying, working, and living. And the college itself isn't just a school, but a lifeline. With programs in nursing, marine biology, culinary arts, and digital media, with a campus that touches the Atlantic and a student body as diverse as the city itself, ignoring this extension isn't just a missed opportunity, but a mythic failure. But building it is legacy and vision. That's how you turn a forgotten shoreline into a corridor of hope. So what's the final stretch? What else could we possibly imagine? The last piece of the puzzle. Look at the map. Manhattan Beach sits oddly close to Breezy Point, to the Rockaways. Yet no subway reaches it, or no ferry touches it. The southern edge of New York after Seaside is skipped entirely. At first I thought extend the 5 over to the Rockaways, but then I realized there's a cheaper, smarter way. If the 2 and 5 are extended to Manhattan Beach, we unlock a new possibility, a shuttle boat, a sleek, fast connection between Seaside, Breezy Point, and Manhattan Beach. A maritime corridor that doesn't disturb existing ferry lines, but fills the void they left behind. Because let's be honest, people have asked for this. They've wondered why there's no boat from the North Rockaways to the south of Brooklyn. And what do they hear? Just take the A train. But the A train to the Rockaways is a fractured branch. Service chopped to every 20 minutes. Rockaway shuttles delay the fleet, and if you live at the edge of the Rockaways, you're looking at a 45-minute crawl just to reach Brooklyn. Now imagine this. You catch the 5 running express, you hop off at Manhattan Beach, you board a shuttle boat, you're at Breezy Point in minutes. Seaside in moments, and you've just saved 20 minutes and maybe more. And here's this mythic twist. The A runs local through Queens, but this is expressed by water. These are some transfer options that seriously need to be considered, because driving through Belt Parkway all the way towards Queens isn't worth it anymore due to the heavy congestion that often makes cars go 15 miles per hour per minute. Now, we can skip Breezy Point, possibly, since Breezy Point is a gated community. But there definitely needs to be some considerations of an extension from the Rockaways to Brooklyn. These are just mere concepts of what the 2 and 5 could have grown up to be. Spread this video to as many people as possible. Shed light on what the 2 and 5 trains could have become. Turn this from a broken promise into a proposal full of demand.